pyruvate oxidation. Now, in the presence of oxygen, further oxidation of pyruvate occurs in the mitochondrial matrix in case of eukaryotes. And like if mitochondria is not present, it is prokaryote, then the further oxidation of pyruvate occurs in the cytosol. Okay, in case of prokaryotes, the oxidation of pyruvate takes place in cytosol, otherwise the oxidation of pyruvate is occurring in the mitochondrial matrix. Now, in mitochondrial matrix, the pyruvate first oxidizes to form acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, acetyl coenzyme A is produced by the oxidation of pyruvate, and the formation of acetyl coenzyme A is taking place in the mitochondrial matrix. So this is how it looks. In cytosol you have pyruvate. That pyruvate goes into the matrix of mitochondria, where it gets converted into the acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, this is acetyl coenzyme A, and this is happening in the matrix of mitochondria. Now, conversion of pyruvate into acetyl coenzyme A is the junction between glycolysis and citric acid cycle. Okay, this reaction connects the glycolysis and citric acid cycle. Now, this pyruvate is a charged molecule, and that is the reason why in eukaryotes pyruvate enters the mitochondria with the help of a transport protein. Okay, there is a transport protein in case of eukaryotes which helps the pyruvate to enter into the mitochondria. Now, in mitochondria, this enzyme, that is pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, okay, this complex does the oxidative decarboxylation, okay, catalyzes the oxidative decarboxylation of the pyruvate. And oxidative decarboxylation of this pyruvate results in the formation of acetyl coenzyme A. Now, in this reaction, what happens is the carboxyl group of the pyruvate is lost as carbon dioxide, and the remaining two carbons are then used to make acetyl moiety of the acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, the pyruvate is made up of 3 carbons. Okay, now one carbon in the form of carbon dioxide is lost. Okay, the carboxyl group of the pyruvate is lost, and after that we are remained with 2 carbons, which are then converted into the acetyl moiety of acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, so this is what is happening in the oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate, which is catalyzed by this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Now, this reaction, that is oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate to produce acetyl coenzyme A, this reaction is highly exergonic and it is essentially irreversible in vivo. So this is how the reaction looks like. Okay, this is pyruvate. In the presence of pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, it gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A and 1 carbon dioxide molecule, and in the process NAD plus gets converted into NADH. Now, this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is an assembly of 3 individual enzymes, that is pyruvate dehydrogenase E1, then dihydrolipoyl transacetylase E2, and then dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase E3. Okay, these 3 are different individual enzymes, and these 3 enzymes assemble to give your pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Now, the oxidation of pyruvate into acetyl coenzyme A involves these coenzymes, that is thymine pyrophosphate TPP, then lipoic acid, then FAD, NAD+, and then coenzyme A. Okay, these coenzymes in association with E1, E2 and E3 of pyruvate dehydrogenase complex causes the oxidation of pyruvate into acetyl coenzyme A. Now, in case of eukaryotes, this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex also contains two regulatory enzymes, then a kinase and a phosphatase. Okay, so in case of eukaryotes, this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is made up of two regulatory enzymes, kinase, phosphatase, and then these three enzymes also, and then these coenzymes are also helping it. Okay, so that is how the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex functions in case of eukaryotes. Now the kinase phosphorylates the serine residue and the phosphatase removes the phosphate. Okay, that's the function of kinase and phosphatase present in pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Now this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is inhibited by arsenite and mercuric ions. Okay, these two things inhibit the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Okay, that means that in the presence of arsenite and mercuric ions, there will be no oxidation of pyruvate into acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, pyruvate will not be converted into acetyl coenzyme A if the system contains arsenite and mercuric ions. Now this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is made up by assembly of these three individual enzymes, that is pyruvate dehydrogenase, then dihydrolipoyl transacetylase, and then dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase. Now let's see the function of these three individual enzymes. Okay, now we start with pyruvate dehydrogenase E1. Okay, now this pyruvate dehydrogenase causes the decarboxylation and oxidation of the pyruvate. Okay, the decarboxylation and oxidation of pyruvate is done by pyruvate dehydrogenase, and it requires TPP as a cofactor. Okay, that is thymine pyrophosphate acts as the cofactor of the pyruvate dehydrogenase. After that we have dihydrolipoyl transacetylase. Okay, this enzyme transfers the acetyl group to the coenzyme A, and lipoic acid and coenzyme A, these two are acting as a cofactor of dihydrolipoyl transacetylase. And at last we have dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase, which is represented by E3, and this enzyme reoxidizes dihydrolipoamide, and NAD plus and FAD are acting as the cofactor of dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase. Okay, so that's the function of the individual enzymes which make up the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Now let's see mechanism of action of the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Now this E1 first catalyzes the decarboxylation of pyruvate, and the decarboxylation of pyruvate results in the formation of hydroxyethyl TPP, and then the hydroxyethyl group of this hydroxyethyl TPP is oxidized by E1 and acetyl group is produced. Now the oxidation of this hydroxyethyl group releases electrons, and these electrons then reduces this disulfide of lipoate bound to E2. Okay, E2 has lipoate, that lipoate has disulfide, and that disulfide is reduced by the electrons which are released by the oxidation of the hydroxyethyl group, and after this the acetyl group is transferred to coenzyme A, and that results in the formation of acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, so E1 catalyzes the decarboxylation of pyruvate. This results in the formation of hydroxyethyl TPP, and then the hydroxyethyl group of this hydroxyethyl TPP is oxidized and acetyl group is produced, and in this oxidation the electrons which are produced, they reduce the disulfide of the lipoate bound to E2, and then this acetyl group is transferred to coenzyme A, and that produces acetyl coenzyme A. Now this transfer of acetyl group to coenzyme A and the formation of acetyl coenzyme A, this is catalyzed by E2. Now this E3 then catalyzes the regeneration of the disulfide form, that is the oxidized form of lipoate, and electrons pass to FAD first and then to NAD plus. Now this pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is regulated by two processes, that is allosteric regulation and covalent modification. Okay, these two processes regulate pyruvate dehydrogenase. Now the allosteric inhibition is mediated by NADH and acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, these two substrates mediate the allosteric inhibition of pyruvate dehydrogenase. Now the covalent modification, which occurs only in eukaryotes, is mediated by phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. Okay, so phosphorylation and dephosphorylation of pyruvate dehydrogenase mediates its covalent modification. Okay, you can covalently modify pyruvate dehydrogenase by doing its phosphorylation and dephosphorylation, and this covalent modification of this pyruvate dehydrogenase only occur in case of eukaryotes. Now E2 is activated by coenzyme A and inhibited by acetyl coenzyme A, whereas E3 is activated by NAD plus and inhibited by NADH. Now E1 subunit of enzyme complex undergo reversible phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. Okay, so let's have an overview. There are three subunit of the your pyruvate dehydrogenase, right? E1, E2 and E3. Now this E2 is activated by coenzyme A and inhibited by acetyl coenzyme A. E3 is activated by NAD plus and inhibited by NADH, and E1 is can undergo reversible phosphorylation and dephosphorylation, and that is how the activity of the pyruvate dehydrogenase is regulated by regulating these three units of its. Right. So you start with pyruvate, and this pyruvate combines with TPP to give hydroxyethyl TPP, and in the reaction a carbon dioxide molecule is released, and this is catalyzed by E1. Okay, so E1 is catalyzing the formation of hydroxyethyl TPP from pyruvate and TPP, and in this reaction a carbon dioxide molecule is getting released. Now this hydroxyethyl TPP combines with the double bond of the E2, double disulfide bond of the E2, and forms this complex and regenerates TPP again. Okay, E2 has the disulfide bond. This disulfide bonds combines with this hydroxyethyl TPP and produces this complex and regenerates TPP. Now this complex here, the carbon unit of this complex, 2 carbon unit of this complex combines with a coenzyme A, and that gives you acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, this 2 carbon unit combines with coenzyme A and that produces acetyl coenzyme A, and you are with this form, this reduced form of the lipoic acid of the E2. Now this lipoic acid is reoxidized, okay, into its original form, and this reoxidation of lipoic acid is catalyzed by E3, and when FAD is converted into FADH2, then this lipoic acid is reoxidized. Okay, the electrons, these, as you can see, hydrogen atoms here, these are the electrons. These are accepted by FAD and it's get converted into FADH2, and that's why the lipoic acid gets reoxidized it's into its original form, and this reoxidation of lipoic acid is catalyzed by E3, and then this FADH2 is reoxidized again into FAD so that it can oxidize your lipoic acid, and this is done. This is catalyzed by E3, and in the process NAD plus is reduced to NADH. Okay, here to oxidize lipoic acid, FAD got reduced to FADH2, and then this FADH2 got reoxidized to FAD by reduction of this NAD plus to NADH, and this is catalyzed by E3. So this is how the structure of pyruvate dehydrogenase is, and that is how its catalytic activity takes place.